So the fixture list is finally out, and let me tell you, there's no easing into the new season for Celtic. Straight away, we're thrown into the thick of it. Flag Day at Celtic Park to kick things off, and who's coming to town? St Mirren. Honestly, it's becoming a bit of a running theme, isn't it? They've been part of the big days at Celtic Park a few times now. Trophy Day just a month or so ago, and even the season before that too. They're no strangers to these occasions. The date for this one, Sunday the 3rd of August, and yes, it's another late afternoon kickoff, half for which seems to have ruffled a few feathers among the supporters, but let's be real. This is just the way it goes now with the TV deals. Sky Sports love a Sunday late game for the big moments. Think back Kilmarnock last year, and there was also that Aberdeen match a couple of seasons ago, again on a Sunday afternoon. It's almost part of the routine at this point. Now moving on from St Mirren, a week later we've got Aberdeen away. Pittodrie on Sunday the 10th of August with a 12:30 kickoff. And this one's got that extra bit of spice. It's a chance for a bit of payback, especially considering how tricky they've been for us in recent encounters. It's never easy going up there, but there's definitely a feeling among the fans that this time we owe them something. Right after that, it's time for the League Cup last 16 tie. That'll be over the following weekend, as it's been the case in recent years. Another knockout match early in the campaign, another chance for silverware already on the line. But honestly, it's the Champions League playoff that's already looming large over everything else. The first leg will come hot on the heels of that League Cup match, and we all know how massive that tie is. Financially, prestige-wise, it's arguably the biggest set of matches for us all season. The stakes couldn't be higher. There's no margin for error, no time to settle into the season slowly. We've got to be firing on all cylinders right from the first whistle. And then with barely time to catch our breath, it's back to domestic action. Livingston at home on Saturday the 23rd of August. That game will slot in between the two legs of the Champions League playoff, making it a seriously congested and high-pressure period. Then comes what can only be described as one of the most intense few days Celtic will face all season. The second leg of the Champions League playoff, the first derby of the campaign at Ibrox on Sunday, the 31st of August, and right after that the closing of the transfer window. It's going to be utter chaos. Anyone coming in during those final hours of the window might even get thrown straight into the fire, making their debut at Ibrox. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Remember Nat Phillips and Luis Palma making their bow in the derby last season. It's almost become part of the drama. And of course, right on the back of all that, there's the small matter of the Champions League group stage draw, or the Europa League if things don't go our way in the playoffs. Either way, it's going to be a frantic and emotionally exhausting few days for everyone involved. After all that madness, thankfully, we do get a bit of breathing space thanks to the first international break of the season. September marks the first of 3 international pauses between now and November. One in October and another in November, just to break up the rhythm a bit more. It's always a bit of a groan-worthy moment when international breaks roll around, especially when you've got momentum building domestically. But at the same time, given how packed August is shaping up to be, the players will probably welcome a bit of rest and recovery time. Looking at the broader picture of these opening fixtures, the thing that jumps out most is just how little room there is for settling in. In previous years, especially when we didn't have to deal with early Champions League qualifiers, there was often a sense that the team could take the first few weeks to build up form, ease players back to full fitness, integrate new signings gradually, and just find their rhythm. But this season, absolutely none of that. Right from the word go, it's full throttle. Aberdeen away as your second league fixture is no joke. And an away day at Ibrox inside the first month just ramps things up even more. And let's not forget the 2 legs of the Champions League playoff in between all that. These are without exaggeration the most important matches of the season when it comes to the financial health of the club and maintaining our status at Europe's top table. The pressure on Brendan Rodgers and the players is enormous. There's no margin for slow starts or betting in periods. The team needs to hit the ground running, show intensity, sharpness, and the kind of mental toughness that's required to navigate such a demanding stretch of fixtures. Of course, all of this makes the summer transfer business even more crucial. Every new signing has to be ready to contribute potentially straight away. There's simply no time to wait for players to settle or adapt slowly. The squad depth will be tested to the limit. Injury, suspensions, rotation for fitness, all of that becomes a massive factor when you've got games coming at you thick and fast both domestically and in Europe. And looking slightly ahead even after that first international break, the run of fixtures doesn't get much easier. There's Kilmarnock after the break, which almost certainly will get moved for television purposes. Let's be honest, a traditional 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff feels like a rarity these days, when you're one of the biggest draws for the broadcasters. Following that, it's Hibs at home on the 27th of September, another big one. Another team that's always up for it when they face Celtic. If you're wondering why there seems to be such a gap between some of these fixtures, especially early on, it's because the League Cup last 16 and quarter-final rounds are being squeezed into these early weeks of the campaign, often taking up weekend slots. It's something we've seen in recent seasons, and it's all part of the ever-changing landscape of fixture scheduling in Scottish football. What's crystal clear from all of this is that Celtic won't have the luxury of a slow build-up. The team has to be at it from day one. There's no room for complacency, no time for excuses. The combination of domestic pressure, the Champions League dream, and a derby so early in the calendar means that this preseason preparation period is arguably one of the most important in recent memory. The squad needs to be fit, focused, and firing. The new signings, they need to integrate fast and make an impact. The experienced players, they have to step up as leaders from the get-go. Brendan Rodgers, well, he's got the task of navigating this storm, getting his tactical plan spot on, and ensuring that Celtic starts this season like a team with serious intent. The supporters, as always, will play their part. Celtic Park on Flag Day will be bouncing as it always is on days like that. The away end at Pittodrie packed and noisy. Livingston at home, another big turnout. And then, of course, Ibrox, where the traveling support will need to be louder than ever. So yeah, buckle up. This is going to be one of those starts to the season where every single game feels like a cup final. The challenges are huge, the schedule is relentless, but if there's one thing we know about this club and this support, it's that when the pressure's on, we rise to the occasion. Bring it on! Now, moving away from the fixture chaos for a minute, let's talk about transfers, because there's been movement and it feels like the club is genuinely trying to get business done early this summer, which is a refreshing change. First up, Ross Doohan isn't signed on a 3-year deal officially confirmed by the club. It's a bit of a strange one, this, when you think about it. He knows full well that unless there's some absolute injury crisis between the sticks, he probably won't see a single competitive minute this season. But hey, there are worse jobs in football than being third-choice goalkeeper at Celtic, right? Just ask Scott Bain, who's made a pretty good living out of that role over the years. The wage will certainly make it easier for him to enjoy the training ground routine. And who knows, football's a funny game, opportunities pop up when you least expect. On the topic of squad registration, his arrival does help with the whole homegrown quota for European competitions. If we break it down, we're now sitting with Callum McGregor, James Forrest, Anthony Ralston, Kieran Tierney, Ross Doohan, and of course Stephen Welch. I know some of you were probably shouting at the screen just then, thinking I'd forgotten Welch, but no, he's in there too. Although if we're being honest, there's still a question mark over whether he'll be here next season. After his loan spell away, does he really want to come back and just sit on the bench again? Feels like he might push for a move, but with the club needing to meet those UEFA homegrown rules, maybe he sticks around for now. Looking at the association-trained players, those who've spent time with other Scottish clubs during their youth, we've actually lost a couple there too, with Scott Bain and Greg Taylor moving on. Right now, Luke McCowan seems like the only one fitting that criteria, so there's a bit of work to do for the club in that department. But honestly, I think the whole homegrown quota situation gets overblown sometimes. Worst case scenario, if we fall short, we just have to name a smaller squad. If we only have 6 homegrown players instead of the required 8, the squad limit drops from 25 to 23 players. Not ideal, but far from a disaster. Bayern Munich have run with smaller squads before, and it's hardly derailed their seasons. Now onto the incomings. The big headline is Benjamin Nigren, or as I've started calling him, Benji, just to save myself the trouble of mispronouncing his surname and sparking a backlash in the comments. Fabrizio Romano's already hit it with the classic "here we go," which basically means it's a done deal. €1.5 million is the reported fee, which in today's market is an absolute bargain. 4-year contract with an option for a 5th year, so the club's clearly thinking long-term with this. 1. Hoping for an official announcement soon, and from what I've seen and heard, he looks like someone who can genuinely strengthen the first team. Then there's the interesting shift back towards the Japanese market. After a bit of a dry spell with no signings from Japan across the last few windows, suddenly Celtic seem keen again. Names like Keiki Kasi from Sweden, Hayato Arakawa in the J1 League, and now Shinyamada from Kawasaki Frontal Yamada's the latest link, a 25-year-old striker who had a brilliant scoring season last year. 19 league goals, which is no small feat in the J1. This season hasn't been as prolific for him, only 2 in the league so far, but he's clearly got pedigree. Watching his clips, there's definitely a bit of a Kyogo vibe about him. Loads of movement between the posts, real poacher instincts, and surprisingly strong in the air too, which could give us something different up front, the reports suggest. Celtic scouts have been keeping tabs on him, and while nothing's imminent yet, it's interesting to see the club rekindling that Japanese connection. When you think about the impact of players like Kyogo and Daisen Maeda, it makes sense to look there again. Overall, it does feel like there's a bit more urgency and decisiveness in how Celtic are approaching this window compared to last year. Names are being linked, deals are being closed, and with still plenty of time left in the summer, I'd expect a few more through the door before that window slams shut. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Rumors swirling around Parkhead have taken an unexpected, almost surreal turn this week, as whispers of a potential £1 billion bid for Celtic have ignited debate across the terraces and pundit panels alike. According to sources close to the matter, the owner of Qatar Airways, a powerful figure with deep pockets and an ever-growing interest in global football, is reportedly preparing a staggering offer to take control of the Glasgow Giants. While nothing has been confirmed officially by the club, the rumor mill is working overtime, and the numbers being discussed are eye-watering. The alleged proposal would not only see a massive financial injection into the club, but also a bold promise from the Qatari consortium, Champions League football, not just as group stage participants, but as serious contenders, insiders suggest. This ambitious move is part of a wider strategy to position Celtic as a true European force, capitalizing on the club's historic stature and global fanbase. With the Premier League becoming increasingly difficult to penetrate due to cost and regulation, Scotland, and particularly a club with Celtic's rich legacy, could present the perfect opportunity for a high-profile entrance into UK football. Supporters have reacted with a mix of curiosity, hope, and cautious skepticism. While some dream of star signings and European glory nights under the lights of Celtic Park, others are wary of losing the soul of the club to foreign investment. Questions of tradition versus modernization have resurfaced, and the idea of a Galactico-style Celtic remains as thrilling as it is controversial. At this stage, it's all just chatter, no official bids, no statements, just a growing murmur in the shadows of paradise. But in football, where there's smoke, there's often fire, and if the whispers prove true, the landscape of Scottish football, and indeed Celtic's destiny, could be on the cusp of seismic change. Hello, fan! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.